Now, how do you get to the right hypothesis? So these hypotheses should be about expecting people to respond in a certain way, or expecting people to understand your user interface, or expecting people to show a certain reaction to something, to buy your product or to use it, or something like that. So what's very helpful is this test card. This is a test card by Strategizer, the company of Alexander Osterwalder, who developed the business model Canvas, which is a very useful element in this very useful model in this phase of your project as well. So I would recommend you to check it out. And basically what you do in this test card is you set out your hypothesis. So we are expecting that 4 out of 5 people will grab our flyer and download our application or something like that. We are expecting that 4 out of 5 people who use our application are smiling when they do this. Something like that. You could really focus this also on true enthusiasm. So what people do, actions always speak louder than words. You can also really read their body language and look for really enthusiastic reactions. So open their eyes wider, or show a smile, or ask about the product and when it will be available, or something like that. Or sometimes you can use even a metric as sharing on Instagram, like 4 out of 5 users will share a picture of our product on Instagram without us asking for it. That would be a good metric as well. So that's your hypothesis that goes into the first box. And then you can also define how critical this experiment is. So how much you need a success in this, and how critical it is for your product development. Then to verify that, we will, so here comes your experiment, what you're going to do. So you will show it to, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 people, and you're expecting a certain percentage to react to it. And then you will measure it. And we are right if 4 out of 5 people share their picture to Instagram without us asking, or something like that. So you can also define here the cost of the test, and the reliability, the data reliability, and also the time it will take. And these are just indications for you to organize your time and to organize how important this experiment is, how much priority it should have, or how much budget you should take for it. Now, as I mentioned before, it's very important to choose the right metric, because there's a couple of metrics that are really tricky, like the amount of followers on Instagram, or the amount of followers on Twitter or Facebook, or the amount of people who like our flyer or something like that, or the amount of people who say they are going to buy our product, or like the design of our product. Those are really tricky because they're vanity metrics. So if you measure users, followers on Instagram or on Twitter, it doesn't tell you anything about these people being willing to buy your product actually. Maybe they just like your pictures or something like that. Maybe they will go away within 2 weeks. It doesn't really tell you anything about your product. So it's very good to build up your Twitter account and to build up your Instagram account. Just don't take any decisions on that, because for critical data for product development, you want something more solid. Now, if you ask people if they like your product, so you show your prototype or your MVP and you ask them to like if they like your product, then you're inducing basically their answers. So be very careful about the reactions, and actions always speak louder than the words. So it's very good to take an observation metric over a response metric that's induced basically. So take it as objective as you can, and of course sometimes you will need answers and you will need comments and you will need feedback in order to get to insights, and that's very very good and very important, but try not to induce these answers, because then you will get like a false validation, and there is nothing worse than a false validation, because you're building your company upon this. So you need it to be as reliable as you can possibly get it. So build your company on the right metrics. So there's a couple of examples here. For example, in an early phase, you can use the number of customers talked to, but more even like the customer feedback and the insights that you get from that, the conversion rates, how many people are converting out of all the people that you're getting to, per customer revenue, the amount that the customer is willing to pay. And then afterwards, when you're growing and you're building your company, then you get to retention rates, repeat purchase sales, referral rates. We'll get into referral rates in a moment, the number of transactions, and also the revenue per transaction. So as you see, every time this metric becomes more precise, also more reliable. So think about observation rather than the answers that if people like your product or something like that, and get to as precise and objective metrics as you could possibly get. Now, you really want to be measuring true enthusiasm here. So think about micro expressions. Think about body language. If you see people opening their eyes a little bit more, if they're amazed by something, if they are smiling and true smiles with wrinkles and everything, if they're really happy about it, if they talk to their friends about your product, if they use it automatically without thinking, how much they get back to your product. There's a lot of things that you can measure and a lot of things that you can observe in order to get to measure true enthusiasm. So now we will discuss two particular ways of doing that, two particular measures that are very useful, and they're also useful in a very early stage when your product is not on the market yet. And sometimes if you have like a smaller test group, or your test group is growing, then you can measure these things in order to get an idea about true enthusiasm and how much people actually care. So this is about measuring true enthusiasm, no socially desirable responses, and really authentic, true enthusiasm.